Construct line screens, high center interference, position locations over pi, calculation high interference. It's all levels of direct locations. It's all levels of center generation light settings. The aptitude high center interference is the allocate high setting. Is you have to truly understand how to use your position location of directions. Today in class, we're going to go through the positions to your tracker settings to really get you more communication when it is through program. The program position location of its directions is all levels of line signals. It opens all communication settings to its rotation interference. Now the line rotation sets all communication system. Now we're starting early in rotations into 10 line settings because there's a lot of things in surface that you have to understand through fortitude lights, communication cycles, high generation light streams, quantum interference, high position location directions. It's all levels of channel uppers and streams. The X line setting in high position locations is a bandwidth that sets locations into levels. This puts you out of separation location set lines and puts you in a higher communication setting. So when you get into shifts, you get into caps. Caps communication, all levels of communication, the atmosphere lines of perception, locks its division locations to all levels, opens all position locations high setting. It's all levels of track interference. There's 4 line triangles, high position of 6, 6 position location of 7, 7 over 8, and 8 position of 9. The bracket interference and position location direction high setting is all levels of travel. The mechanism high line rotation interference is high position location calculations. Everything that I'm saying, position location high setting, is all levels of algorithm. Okay, it's knowing how to set up your data stream line settings. It's an inventory channel. That position location is where it comes into all levels. You're in position locations from all levels. You bring in the old to the front and the front to the back. Okay, so that's what it is. You take the old and then you take the position location line setting. So it's old line setting interference. You release that position, you take it off, and you have the front coming up in this location. So it's like this. It's all about understanding what you're going through inventory line conditions. Your tracker system is set up to all lines of a stream set. That stream set is set up positions to zero gravity line settings. Get you guys ready to higher communication to your tracker locations. You have to learn how to use the schematics because right now it's under construction locations, getting you guys ready to your reading signals. That puts you in a gamma line setting. Now the gamma line setting opens all communications to interface line positions. Interface through triangulations. Now we got in 42 light streams. Now we're going to come into 42 communications of all set location. All right, channel upper streamlines, set communication settings. So it's all levels of travel. Travel communication to all line setting. Opens all communication to its rotation surface. This positions of its directions and opens all levels of channel upper streamlines. Okay. So 5-10 minutes, we'll get started locations. How's everybody doing? Morning. That's good. Pre-flight completed, ready to travel. Pre-flight completed. And that's exactly what, when you come online setting into line locations, pre-flight, activated, ready to go, right? Channel operation streamline, zero gravity interference, ready to go. Position, location, direct line center, navigation's all set, ready to go. Ready to go, ready to go, ready to go. Okay, so when you come live, always get in position of pre-activation. That is number one, okay, before you travel to anywhere. Because the thing is that when you're in school, you get a better understanding of what you're coming into. It's all levels of your memory. Your memory is coming into high communication setting. And when you come into all communications, you're seeing yourself in the future adaptations of your target locations. This positions your direct line settings and puts you in all levels of space calculations to a system location, to all levels of center generation light streams or line rotations, to a calculation setting, to this in position line directions, which is 30 thousandths of xt1,000 line stream, right? That sets its position location directions to its calculation high setting. This opens all communication rotation setting to all interference line position. So, how's everybody doing? So we've got a square box line setting. Let's start that locations, all right? Square set line rotations into 2 line interference, 3 the positions of 3 box locations. Triangulation, line strip. Center calculations, all levels. Okay, center calculations, all level round setting, line rotation. Sending communications to another round line setting, half pipe communications to other full cycle line setting. This opens all communications to all rounds. The center communications puts position location in different directions. Now, to understand how the tracker is set up, is all set up location where it comes into the ground location, into the position line directions, into the levels of channel operation streamlines. 3 calculations, into 4 position locations of calculations, high settings. That position locations opens all lines into triangulation. Set communications into triangulation. Okay, Center communications comes into a circle line rotation, set communications, all levels into a solar graph line setting in communications, into another line rotations in communication. See how powerful it is, line rotation interference? Now, in position line direction, it's all about understanding the set locations. Now, a tracker system is set up to an atom line. An atom line rotation interference comes into all levels positions. You have the zero gravity set locations into high channel operation streamlines, right? The center communication is zero gravity line sets its position location to its flux capacitor. See the flux capacitor location? Now, electrical light center line position locations into the east line and position location of west line, north line setting and position location of south into set line position location directions. That channels its operation is center the circle line rotation interference, travel to 45-degree angle at set location. This opens all channels and set locations into your DNA structure in division rotation settings. Now, in rotation setting, if you look really, really cautious in what you're going through line rotation, this is one chakra setting to its size graph line setting. This opens all communication system. It knows its allocated high setting, it knows its grounds, it knows its powers, and it knows its atmosphere location to its magnetic highway information line setting that opens all communication to your datas, your upgrades, your downloads, and your uplinking settings. Okay? You really have to start recognizing these things when you open up higher levels of track locations. All right. Now, the 42 light setting sets position location to ground settings. All right. So 42 line rotation. You start out the 42 line setting. That's an open window to position line directions. That opens all channels of a higher line position location to your satellites and 3-line triangle sets. That sets division locations to all levels of channel upper streamlines and a rotation to a Fibonacci sequence and set locations to a dimensional round setting and rotations to a circle line and rotations to its position. The center calculation, high center line, high its position location calculations. So you have to really recognize how to each clock setting is set up in your line setting to all positions in your 12, 24, 48, 72, and 144. Your position location and direction is extremely important to all levels of what you're doing with the position, all right? So let's say we got a 7-line setting, okay? It's in position locations. Now this is where we take the 22-second line setting, bring the 22 position. So this is 22, equal line conditions, 22 equals 7. All right, now that 22 is now 36 line setting in position locations in docile line setting into 0 equal location of 9. 9 comes into position, 9 equals 0 line position locations, bracket 2 center line communication. Now you bring that position location of flux capacitor. Make sure you have mass, volume, and velocity in top line setting. 1 umbrella in communications into 3 communications. 3 equals line settings of satellites. Satellite sets line in set locations into its flux capacitor. Channels its position to its ground setting to its power records of timeline. You bracket the 0, 0 in positions in set location in equal line center location of 7. Now that position locations is its position locations when it comes into all levels into your computer definition. 7 equals line 70 location of 72. That's the 72-hour channel operation to ground setting and open sequence sets position location of direct line setting. 2 calculation modify high center interference in seconds locations in position location of directions. Okay, very complicated stuff, right? This is all formation locations of your chakras. Okay, your chakra is a set system. Okay, so basically it has its own operation of its own calculation, has its own data stream, has its rotation surface, has its calculation setting. It knows exactly where it is in position to its direct line setting, interference, understands the travels, understands the mechanisms, understands all communication system rotation settings. Right, so you have to really recognize line position location and calculations. Right, so when you bring the seconds forward, you're now in position of 22 equals 7. Okay, so, and this is where you come into all line setting. So really get into this position locations, taking you out of the 7 days a week. Okay, taking out 7 days into 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right. Once we get into one line, we get in a full clock line setting into a flux capacitor communication of channel to ground line center and a rotation surface, ground center and positions to all position line directions into high center vibrational graph streams into 3-line rotations, 4-line positions, 5 lines, 6, and position location of 7. Change position location direction line setting. Graph line setting high rotation interference, 0, 0, 0 set locations in high center interference, sets communications into 144, track line centering line equals 7 location. Now the 7 locations comes into 2 panels of operation strain lines. That allocates position of a triangulation to set location and setting lines. Sets 2 position locations on levels. It measures, it countermeasures line center locations in 7-day week. 7-day week comes in position locations, taking down line center of 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The 1 line center allocates position of time, electrical light setting, high interference. Sets a road graph streamline rotations into a swirl and a sequence location of pattern setting. It opens up a dimensional realm of a portal communication of a wormhole, setting a wormhole in set locations. Center calculations in a 6-line channel of operation stream. Rotation and position and a half-byte calculations to its moon setting into its sun operation location. Sun operation sets position location as center operation line into a 3-triangle force line position. Sets position location of 6 and center location of 7, 8-line rotation. 9 is set and 12 line setting. 12 comes up, position location 12 equals 6 line setting, 6 position locations into 9, 9 line 7 locations of 8, 8 position locations of 9, 9 position locations of 12, 12 centralizes its communication setting and its rotation surface. Now, setting communication is an extremely powerful step when you come to all levels of travels and their chakra settings. Your chakras are all position location of your directions. This is extremely complicated, but this is your chakras. And when you activate your chakra, you have to understand the formulas of its equation. It sets all line communication settings to your set locations, guys. Okay? So it's important you understand the seconds. 0 equals seconds, set location, right? Seconds come in position. Okay, equal line condition to the minutes, and it comes into the hour, and it comes into your day set. All right. So once you get in that position line directions, we change your line setting. This is where we come into a time lock to its umbrella equivocation of satellite, sets communications into 3 weather patterns, set communications to its triangulations of 3, in position of 6, and position location of 9. 9 sets line position location to its pattern, opens signals and high interference and direct location to its flux capacitor, setting calculations of all levels of set locations in position location of its measure, setting calculations of all levels of ground line center rotations into a swirl in set locations, setting communication line center interference of 12 line signals, 24 line positions into 48 channel operations at 72 into 144 of calculation streamline. Okay, so we really have to recognize these things through formulas because that's what your chakras are doing. They're going through channel operation streams. This is where we come to highline communications. You guys have a test every Monday, and every Monday is based on what you are calculating through. Getting your muscle memories and communication setting opens all track location to your chakras. Okay, from 0 to 114. Your position of direct high settings is to understand how to go through 3, 6, and 9 line channels of operation of 3 weather patterns in location of satellite connections into unified rotations into 140 channel operant streamlines in a 24 line of 48 window in 72 to a clock line setting into a ground center 0 operation setting. So this is how you come into your formulas of your chart locations, higher level settings, right? So it's powerful when you get into that position locations, right? So your channel operation lines is coming into 12 equal line conditions in position locations into 24. Okay, your position line directions exist in locations. 24 line setting into its own flux capacitor into mass, volume, and velocity. Make sure you have the umbrella. Umbrella sets line position location to a satellite. Satellite sets its position location to the levels of your planet system. It sets location to a high setting. It opens all communications into levels of 0 gravity setting. It rotates its center interference into mass, which is position location of velocity. That volumes, its position of directions of what you're doing through travel calculation. Okay? All right. So you want to understand what your chakras are doing every single day in your body setting. Now you got to understand position locations of all levels of colors of coordination. Okay? All right. How's everybody doing? Okay, let's see. We got Andy, Lori, David, Susan, Yolanda, Dylan, welcome. Joanne. Okay, like systems. 83, how you doing? AJ calculations, all of the system, add and line settings, all of Val, Chris, Sammy. All set locations, guys. I know you guys are, what's going on? I thought it was 10:30. You never know with general. Always be on your toes. All right. Okay, let's see. Geneva. Okay, so communication settings, allocate timelines, time stream, high interference, indirect location, Nikki. All right. So as we get in that position line settings, you guys have that test, and that test values you in all levels of your volume. This positions your direct line setting, and this puts you in a better calculations to what it is. Your muscle memory is extremely important when you activate each chakra at a time. And that time is the existence location when it comes into its own position of pi. Okay, 0 to 9 sets lines. Then you bring in position location likeness of seconds in the center calculations, right? This comes into flux capacitor, set lines, into electrical light conditions, into 3 ground setting, in a rotation surface and rotation setting. Allocates timelines. Remember, vast volume velocity always has to be there. Always, always, always in your track location. So understanding that set location puts you into bracket set line position equal line condition of 0. Okay, 0 equals locations into your seconds. Seconds in position locations, all levels, into higher communication setting rotations. All right, see the intelligence? Setting communications all levels opens all communication setting. Highline triangles, high set of position location of its directions. Center communications all levels sets its umbrella. So you have to really understand what you're doing through vast, volume, and velocity. Okay. So umbrella sets line position location of a direct line setting. Anything in higher line rotations, you come in this position location to planet settings in rotations and triangulation. Okay. So this is where you come into your pyramid setting locations in high setting. Okay. So anything in the high line rotations comes into 3 weather pattern communication cycles. And it sets position locations on levels. The ground line center sets as 0 gravity locations. All right. Center communications comes into its set communications. All right. It's a cone upside down. All right. So as it sets location, it sets another weather pattern and rotations to a swirl, sets locations into the high setting location, into the east line setting. Position location of west line setting and position of north in set location of south. Sets a new position location of directions of time sequence in the line setting locations into your tesseract and your tetrahedron or octahedron locations into your orb channel of communication. Okay? So there's a lot of things you have to understand how this works inside location. It's very powerful when you get into that line setting. Okay? You have to really recognize each chakra and what it is, the representation. This holds you through all formation line strings, guys. You have to really recognize the power of its recognition of space and time through its own pi, because it's recognizing you each time you get up in the morning. And remember, you only have a 24-hour dayline setting. The system is already set up and its chakra set. All you got to get now is get in balance with the masculinity and the femininity to its position, to its directions of its operation cycle. This resets line settings in all levels of correlation. So getting into that position line directions gets you in all levels of channel. Okay, and set location. All right. So this is everything that the chakra can do through activation setting. Okay. So you guys have to practice on your 12s. Equal line conditions and line position locations 24. 24 line setting locations. This comes into communications, set lines into an umbrella. And the umbrella comes into its satellite, equal line condition of seconds. Seconds in position of 3-0 communication. Brackets interference location of 7. Okay. 7 is the number line of your body. Body line setting location comes into equal lines to its construct. Okay. So it's a new design line rotation interference from 12 to 24 in position, location, and direction. Okay. So it's really understanding how to use the number sequence line setting. So okay, I can modify how you use your communication of formulas, because that's what your chakras are doing. Every time you get up in the morning, it's setting up its own formula of its equation. Okay. You have to recognize these through video graph streams to your all set locations. Your Schumann resonance And your position of direction is extremely powerful when you come at that line setting. Okay. All right, so let's go through this again, right? So we got the 0 line position locations into 12. 12 line center locations equals 12 line setting comes into 24. 8 line center locations 24. 24 line positions equals line conditions into levels of 7. 7 line position location of 0, 0, 0, 0, 1. Okay, so this is how you have to understand how to use the 0, 1 line setting of 0 position. Right, so that's 70,000 line settings. So that brackets its interference of 3 line position. Flux capacitor, set calculation. Center calculations into vast, volume, and velocity. Always have the umbrella, always have the satellites above location. All right. So I just want you to understand how to use the balance of calculation settings because the tracker system is trying to understand you through all measure. It's scales of communication. Everybody knows what a scale is, right? You have a scale here and you have a scale here, right? 2 scales. And you need a ground setting, right? Set position, intelligence. See the intelligence? I center central communication. There it is. Right? All ground line setting, flux capacitor communication, signal line setting. Electrical light conditions of panels and position locations, right over left, left over right. Okay? Center calculation is your pi. There's your pi right there. That's how it's set up. So the center calculation is right over left and line center location of left line and left over communication of right line. Center communication line setting. So you have to really start recognizing these things. Okay. So when you're looking in direct line setting, so you're not in reverberation channels or anything to the reflection location of a mirror resolution line setting, you're going right over left and left over right when you're looking straight at a picture. Okay. The center calculation has to be right over left, left over right. You see the intelligence? You see the graph streams? You see the pi? This is the pi, right? This is the pi right here. There's the pi. That centers this calculation to its hologram stream that opens communication. So it's a center operation line setting that opens all positions to your magnetic highway. Setting calculation to power generation light settings in rotation. Setting communication new ground setting and rotation of 0 gravity location. Okay? Setting that communication system comes into all levels, into 2 panels of operation. Okay? So you have to start recognizing these things, guys, and how it works for you in all levels of calculation. All right, let's see here. Opening wires and upgrading. Well, that's good. Getting that set during high interference, but it's very powerful when you come into this line condition through your chakras. Remember, each chakra is a representation to your setting because you guys are now coming into 7. Equal line center of 7, equal line center location of 7, equal line condition of 7. That's 4 box line center location of 7, right? 7 in position of alpha, 7 position location of delta, 7 position locations in the beta, 7 position locations into omega setting in center communications, flux capacitor calculations, vast volume velocity calculation, setting communication high center interference of 0 gravity locations in position location at ground setting, in position locations into a Fibonacci swirl line setting, and travel communication. Okay? That's what you guys are coming into. You have to understand the alpha line setting. An alpha line setting sets position location and direct locations, right? But the position of direct line setting is really understand the calculations to its rotation to its chakra setting. So you got 0 gravity line setting, 0 equal locations into grounds. Grounds comes into line position location ground levels operation to box position location and triangulations into your Merkaba, to your tesseract communications and orb channel calculations to its high setting and travels and set locations in 12 line directions in direct location. So when you understand the direct line center, you come into a 42 window set. Setting communication at higher levels of security. Setting communications at all levels and set location at 3 line settings, the circle locations. Setting position location to higher communication settings into 3 sets. Setting highline rotations into a swirl of dimensional set locations. Setting communications into highline rotation interference and 0 gravity locations into its position. So there's so many lines of communications. You have to learn how to set positions at all levels. Now you got a paradigm position. Okay, you got a polarity high position. Okay, you got a paradox high setting. That's 3 communications into lulls. 3 line signatures, 3 equals line slash signatures. Okay, past, present, and B and position line settings, the 3 track locations of boxes, position line settings over pi. Okay, equals the pi position. Okay, anything over pi sets high settings. So you have to understand the polarity, the parallels, the polar shift, the position location to its paradigm. Okay, so each tracker has its representation to its weather patterns, the high line setting, high interference. So each tracker is 98 line setting, equal line conditions to all levels of 107 position. That's a temperature reading location to a thermometer line setting. Okay, so it opens all communications to high setting interference, position locations into all levels of 4 track settings. Setting communications into high setting into Merkaba, and triangulations into northwest, south, and east, and position location and directions. Right? See it? Setting communications to grounds, power records of time, setting into magnetic highway information line setting. It opens all signal locations into 3 line setting rotation, and position location at 3 line ground setting locations in high setting. Okay? So this is a temperature reading to your tracker setting locations. 98% is the normal line, right, to your position locations, right? Anything above that line rotations, if you get into 103 or 104, that's a high temperature reading. It's got to go back into 98% line, a stream location, right? So this is all of a heat signature temperature read line settings. So your chakra system is trying to understand what is going on with you. Okay, why are you so connected to all communication? Well, it starts with this flux capacitor, setting calculation streamlines and set location. Right, so understand the position of the balance line setting, understand the position location of the ground line setting, understand position location of zero gravity location, understanding the position location of all line setting. There it is. See that? XT UFO line rotation. Your position location is its ground setting, and rotation setting, and rotation interference, indirect location. You see it? So you really have to recognize these things because it's all levels of you intelligent location, trying to understand everything that's going on in information locations. All right? Any Jeps? All right, so you got a center communication of planet line. That position locations into an I-line setting. It opens all communications to center calculations into triangulation of 3 line position into 2 line position. Right? So you got 3 line settings, okay? 3, 3, 3, okay? So that position locations is set location. Center communications, all levels. Now that's all line centers of heart, mind, and position of soul, okay? There's so many communication line centers. Sun can come in this line to a flux capacitor communication line setting that sets a position location of 6 lines. That's a half pipe calculations, right? Moon sets in its rotation center into its motion line setting and position location to all levels of Jupiter, setting calculation streamlines of information cycles. So there's a lot of communication when you come to levels of travel. And that's what your chakras are doing. They're trying to recognize the space and time of you through pi. And that position location, its directions, and how powerful it is when you come into half pipes of calculation of 6, equal line conditions of 9, 9 position location of 0, and position locations into the line position location 3, 3 position location of 7 line positions of all 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 line setting and position location into 3, sets communication into northwest, south, and east, 3 line setting and high rotations into 0 gravity location. Okay, so there's a lot of things you have to understand how it works with the chakra settings. The operation surface, the relays, the teleportation streams, the teleportation lights, the unified rotation cycles, Y line setting, zip zap zoom, the absolute locations, tango tango, foxtrot, echo zulu, in position location directions. All right, roger that, over and out. You really have to recognize all these line connections, guys, because it's the chakra that's trying to understand all lines of you through communication, right? All through travels of formulas of its equation. All right. So remember, numbers are turned into travels of GOD, right? So let's see, telepathy between each of the open chakras ramping up. Amazing. Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. Thunderbird shock, all systems reboot, restoring all positivity, peace, and love. Yep. Let's see. Awareness is how I see. It's relaxed and observed until action is set. So I'm getting you guys ready to get you into higher levels of travel line positions into your chakras of higher calculations in 7 bodies of water. Once you get in your position of 7, you get a better track line setting. Your throw patterns to your third eye position. That's 1 line signal down and 2 line signals up. Flux capacitor. Okay. You have to really recognize set locations, guys, when it comes into channel opposite tree lines. Okay. So we have to really understand the formulas because the chakra line set, let's say you got 0 gravity location. Okay, so 0 equals chakra. So chakras stand in position location of 12, line position of 24, line positions of 48, line position location of 72, line position location of 0 line position locations into 144, equal line conditions into 144, equal location of 1,000,000 miles per second. Okay, so in that direct line setting, your sun and your moon is going in the same direct line setting. The rotation spin cycle is going the same direction. The chakra system has to truly stand the correlation of 0 to 12 to 24, 48 to 72 to 144 because it's position locations in all line setting locations to your DNA. Center calculations in stream, center calculations in stream location, DNA. Your DNA line centers a rotation surface. It sets specification direct line setting. It opens all communications, but you have to send the clock lines. Your calculations, high center appearances, color coordination, and position location of space and time through pi. The recognition line setting opens all communications setting to all position location of its directions to its set location. Your DNA. Okay. Registered patterns, heat signature, line streams. It's all position location of directions, guys. Okay. So it's pretty simplified if you really understand your position all through 0. 0 locations, high center location to all position line setting to all communication to its computer. Right? Computer line center to chakra location, equal line conditions of 0 gravity. 0 gravity locations equal line center to 12, equal line conditions of 12 million sets. Sets position to its planet surface in position location to all levels, high setting. Okay? Into triangulation through pi, right? Pi is always the center line. So space is the center communication. Pi is position locations looking down setting. So it's like looking down on what you see all through calculations into a position through its calculation setting. All right. Full cycle rotation surface. So throw patterns connected to a voice grid. Yep. Panthers in position of guardians securing lines. Well, that's good. Again, that commits locations are recommended. So why is it so important to understand the how? The how of operation equals line conditions of everything. How equals everything into your chakras. Equal line conditions in position to 114. Center calculations, high center interference, 114 million sets. Okay. So the million sets line communications, right, to higher calculations. So anything you above line position. So let's say your capacity is, well, let's say it's at 48,000 line stream. Okay, we change position location directions. So you got 48,000 line. Equal line conditions of 3 zeros, right? Brackets center. That's what you do. 40 equals 3 zeros. So it's instead of 48,000, you bracket the 3. The 3 comes into its position location. It's like a telephone call. Send it at line position. 2 track line centers to its planet location. That's it. Simple. When you come to that line rotation interference, it comes down in center communication to its box. It opens its window in 3 communication settings. Okay. Now, when it opens its window, you have to really recognize the center calculation of what it's doing through travel in 3 communications. All right. It gets complicated, guys. It's extremely complicated, but you have to understand the position locations of 48 in position location of travel to set location. All right. So this is this. This is this through structure. Okay. Formula and all levels of set location. So the chakra system has to understand the structural line. The structural line is its communication where it positions its directional location to its settings. Okay. So remember, everything that you use in position is all levels of GOD. The GOD sets line position to everything's the correlation. You really have to understand the pattern defense lines, right? And the biggest thing, and I keep saying this again and again, is triangulation of interface. Okay, once you get into that position line directions, you can do anything in a correlation to its chakra settings, right? But the 114 chakras is just the beginning for you, everybody. The team sets line settings in all rotation surface to truly understand how to use the calculation setting. In rotation surface, 1, 2, and 3 location, bracket interference. Okay, so this is an area, location of call. That's the area call. Digit position location of 7, right? 7 digit line position locations into 8. 8 sets here, 8 sets here, 8 sets here, 8 sets here, and 8 sets here. Complicated, right? So that's infinity of position location and triangulation, infinity of position locations in line setting. Complicated, isn't it? Now, when you get into that position line directions, this comes into affinity cycle and set location. Centers its communications into all levels. The infinity cycle comes down in straight line communications, opens another track line setting in all rotation setting. Okay, setting communication of 0 lines and higher communications into 0 position line directions. Travel communications into all levels of hologram structure location. So it's really complicated stuff, but it's a lot of fun of what a chakra system can do once it's activated through its stream. It comes into full communication and motivation. Okay. So this is an 8-line setting in high line rotations and position locations of what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What is 6 locations? So 6 equal locations of 8. 8-line center line position location is 12. 12-line center location is the 24 lines in position location the center operation line position to its moon operation setting location. So you have to really recognize these set locations, guys. It's very powerful when you come in that position. I'm just showing you what happens when you get into your own formulas of its equation to each chakra setting, okay, through travel. All right. Happy day. Recognize the line settings, electrolyte communication cycles, graph location of streams. Okay, 4 channel upper streamlines, right? 2 panels of calculations, right? So you got 4 panels communications, and you got 2 parallels. 2 equal line conditions of 4 equals line position location of parallels. Okay, see how that works? 2 equals 4 equals parallels. See the 4 lines? 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Center calculations, streamlines. Write down the straight line position location of calculations, right? So number sequence location, it gets complicated because now you're setting up a higher line position location directions to all levels of travel communication settings. Your higher communicating line position location of realms, higher position location of structure line communication. This is where you come to correlation line settings, your hologram structure lines. Right? 2 position location of 4 line position location of perception or levels position locations of parallels and 2 position location. Okay? So you have any questions on that line setting, let me know. But I just want you to understand, so you understand everything that's going on each time you open and activate a chakra setting. Okay? If you got a diamond core line setting and position locations into 4 channels, 12 line signals into 8 position locations of 9, and 6 position location of 7. It's all set up. It's all done. And so you set location UFO, knows exactly what doing through location setting, grounds its set locations and high center interference, brings all the number sequence and position location that travels in high center location, zip zap zoom back to the moon setting. Ooh-ah. See how that works? So you have to really recognize what you're doing through number sequence location of patterns. The position line directions is to understand how to use the line signals into your crop circles. Now you have to really get into more information locations that set. This opens all communications, how you use your crop circles and position locations into your set line signals. Okay, center calculations and center communication. Sonified set lines in 3 lines or 4 line position. Here in position locations, here in position locations and 2 lines, right? Center calculation, signaling with each other, triangulation of 3, communication on 3 line settings. One comes in position, one comes in position, scans position locations. See how that works? You have to really recognize what you're doing through all line connection. It's really powerful when you get into all levels. So you start with your 24 grounds. Now the ground sets position, location, and direct location of the chakras. The chakra has a rotation spin cycle. That position of its direct locations to understand how to use the Fibonacci swirl on one side and the Fibonacci on the other side locations to bring it together. One atom rotation, center communication. Right? That's how it starts. Okay. Surface calculation streamlines. Look at this one more time. All right. So I know it's very powerful what you're calculating through. I know it's very confusing for everybody, but this is what you're coming into. Okay. To really recognize the activation streams of each chakra to its open sequence. Its direct location knows exactly what it's doing through its information cycle. Okay. Setting calculations all levels. Now we can use 41 line setting into all position locations. Now the 0 line position location of 0 equal line conditions of 9. 9 equals line position locations in position locations into 42 position location of track. Now that 41 line setting stays in position locations. Let's put that in position of 43. Setting communications into line center locations, equal line conditions equal, so 44. 44 comes into 45. 45 equal line conditions of 46. 46 is over pi in set location. Okay, all levels of abundance. So in that set locations, I will receive something through pi, all through number sequence. Right? It's understanding what you're doing through your number sequence line settings, guys. It's very powerful when you come to that position location of calculations, all through line settings. All right, through time, through your seconds, minutes, hours of the day. Okay, so laser connection information, acceleration patterns of 44. Cool. Excellent. So numbers comes in all ways and forms, right? So your chakras are trying to understand more levels of you. And if it understands the more communication, you come into your space operation cycles. That comes in a 60 line setting, 60 location of its command. Okay, of its command setting. Command setting. 60 communications, equal line conditions, all levels of pi, equal line conditions of its moon. So really, really recognize and get in position to all calculations. It's not just the memory, it's the face recognition to the chakra setting of what it is, because it's all connected to your DNA and your 12 DNA rotation cycles and high generation light settings. Because now you're surfacing in position locations all levels of high center rotations. If your capacity is over pi in calculations into 60,000 line signatures, this is again 60,000. Remember, you bracket the locations of 3. 3 comes in position location of here, in position locations of here, in position locations of here, brackets in interference locations, sets communication into 6, center line position, 6 equals lines of 7, 7 locations of 8, 8 position locations, all levels, high center location, in line setting, in position of 9 calculation. All right. So you really have to work with the position location of ground setting to really understand the recognition of through space. It's the relay programs. Now, a relay program is a cycle interference. It rotates its cycle in high center, high interference rotation set location to its ground setting. This opens all communication to its ground interference in its foundation of its formula of its equation. Okay. So you know exactly what 60,000 line is. So it's very simple to use the number sequence locations because you're separating locations, not 60,000. This is not what it is. Okay. That's not what it is. It's this. You bracket the 3. And you have to bracket the 3. 60 equals 3. Right? So now you get into flux capacitor, indirect locations. All right, don't forget the grounds. Setting communication, right? Now, once you set in the calculation, set up the umbrella. Once you have the umbrella, set positions. Don't forget the mass, velocity, and the volume calculations. When you reach higher levels, you come in acceleration, line conditions of Mach position locations, and high line center in hyper mode of communication. So you have to really recognize the position locations on levels when it comes into travel. Travel your position location directions. So let's say you go into 40, locations of 40,000, set locations into 40, and then you can go into equal line conditions of plus, into negative line center locations equals channel. Now the channel operation streamline sets line rotations into position locations into 40 channels of operation of 4 square settings in set location. For setting line and rotation into flux capacitor, always have the flux capacitor set location, right? Or you can't set line setting. You have an antenna on everything. It's always going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So that's what it is. It's a V-line setting, rotation. It's always going, right? Flux capacitor communication, right? So once you get in position line directions and you have 40 channels of operations plus over channel or over communications, you come in position line directions to its calculation of its pi in position of over factor. Pi over factor through calculations. All right. So there's a lot of things you have to understand how to use the formulas of pi. It's your direct line setting. You know exactly what you're doing through your GOD locations, guys. It's powerful stuff when you come into that position location. GOD line setting, equal line condition position to anything in that set locations, and morph inline conditions to 60 positions, which is calculations to the moon setting that opens all position location equal line conditions of a platform through GOD. Now, the geometric operation design is always in a box line setting, which is position locations to your tesseract, your tetrahedron, or octahedron, or orb communication setting. Rotation surface, high generation light stream. All right. Merkabah, tesseract, high interference, scramblers, set lines, high inner rotations, portals, intercon, line center, high interference, banshees, thunderbirds. Doesn't matter. What matters is, do you understand the numbers that is given to you on an everyday sequence locations? Your scanning channels communication line centers comes in all calculation streamlines, right? So now you understand when you come into 70,000 line signatures, it's in position of bracket. So that's 3 equal line conditions of area code. 3 equals area code, line setting. So once you get into the 3 equals area code, okay, and you go CODE locations. You come into position location to theta setting and communication. Theta setting sets as 0 line rotations, dot locations, 7 communication, crosses signals in pi communication, right? So you really have to understand the graph lines and how it sets line position that creates the equation settings because it crosses its signals into time stamp of communication. There's the timestamp. Triangulation line center line rotations, underscore of 3, equal to the factor under pi. That's setting time, frequency, timelines into past a position location of its reference. Okay? So you have to really recognize these line communications. Obviously, you guys are going to have to watch this again and again and again and again until you understand everything that is given to you is all position location of its directions. Okay? So it's important you understand this. Let's say you go through 20,000 line signature, 20,000. Okay? Always bracket the 3 line setting. Always, 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 always. Okay? Because remember, it's your area code. So it's a 3-line signal. So you have an area code, equal line conditions in position of 7. 7 location, equal line condition of digit. Digit position locations opens all operation setting. Yeah, that's how you communicate. Transmitting of receiving. Okay, simple, easy, done. Triangulation of pi. Triangulations 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 of pi. And triangulations of full communication of pi. Okay? So it's important you understand how pi works for you. I'm trying to get everybody to understand what pi means. There's a lot of people that are not understanding the perception, the program. the perseverance, okay? The position of its problem. Pi represents everything in position of a positive angle, and that angle sets communications into your freedom and your sovereignty. That sets all communication line signals in your rotations to your chakra locations, okay? So really recognize high center and high position location, high direct line settings, and all calculations to its calculation setting, okay? Through pi, all right? Pi over factor, okay? Equal line conditions over, pi over, okay? And then you get pi, okay? Equal line conditions, right? Underscore, okay? Underscore is past reference of pi, okay? And pi in line equal location of sector. Sector is a very high rise line in position of its own pi calculations into its future set location. There's many ways of getting pi in your direct locations to your chakra sets, right? The geometric operation of design truly understands the program. And when it understands the program, it understands its space of its time, okay? Sector over pi, pi calculation, pi calculus, high line setting, high line interference, pi position location of box line, pi position location of triangulation line, pi position location of the angle line, pi position of the zero gravity line, pi position location of security line, right? It's all in balance in set locations in your line connections. Yes, pi and locations and everything. That's what it is, Kenny. So because you're reaching, you guys are coming into your 7. Okay, 2 panels of communication. Congratulations. That's what you're coming into. But this is just the beginning locations. All right. That's 4 channel operation streams. All right. 4. Setting communication line centering, line and rotation interference is business locations. So 7 plus equal line conditions over score. Okay. Over. Okay. Over score. Okay. Under pi. Under pi, okay, is a set signal high setting, high line rotation interference in position of 4 triangles of operation signals, setting communications in position locations into all levels of future in set locations. Okay, so you really have to recognize pi in all calculations. The center communication, equal line conditions of pi, pi equals location. Okay, the reason why I'm giving you this is because your tracker centers have to understand what you're doing through your calculations to your size graph line settings and all our rotation positions to its mass equals line conditions in position locations to its equation set locations into time through space in position of its pi through calculus setting. Okay, so yes, you're gonna have to watch this back. I just want you to really understand how you can really change things with your system, really understand the abundance of all position locations of pi. Okay, your direct location is 3, set location of 6, center position of 9, 12, or 144. Equal line condition of 0, 0, brackets center locations. All right, that's a very high rise line of pi. The center communication line center rotation interference is 3 communication. 3 comes out through 3 set lines, right? 6 centers its line communications to its moon setting. Okay, 9 comes into the center operation of its Fibonacci swirl rotation, setting communication to 12. 12 comes up in line rotation of its clock lines into its 24 high center location equal line connections of 3 line zeros and set locations into 24 signature lights of program location. Okay, so it's very powerful when you get into pi. You got to recognize these things because now you're coming into a 7-track setting. Once you get into 7-track setting, you're coming into the bodies of water, and then you understand the representation to its grounds, its waters, its airs, and its fires. That's it through high setting, right? But that's just the beginning to its location at all levels. Your future is set in locations, all levels of space through time. Okay, this is all you have is space, time, equal line condition line position locations, equal line conditions of pi. Okay, the space, the time, the set locations of travel, Center communication line centers of and set location is center calculation high center locations of its own pi. Okay? So you have to really, really recognize these things because it works all levels for you. But the energy signatures and the bandwidths and the communication settings has to really recognize what you're doing through all program because it's all levels of calculations when it comes into its own system. The system is set up in so many communication line settings, guys. It's very powerful when you come into all the calculations. I'm trying to get you guys ready of what's happening when you get into your 7 chakra settings because it has to recognize everything through a space of time of pi. Okay, just remember when you're getting a position location of direct line settings, you get a 30,000 line setting. It's not this in location. Okay, it's this in location. All right, set locations. You bracket the 3 line zeros in locations into flux capacitor. Okay, fast, volume, velocity, umbrella, satellite set location. All right. So remember, you're bracketing that because that's the area code. Area code's code system locations, right? So you're sending out signal locations into line settings into a half pipe calculation. Center communication has full cycle line center location of yin and yang. Rotation surface line rotation of Fibonacci swirl. Setting communication at high levels of travel, position of security measures. There's nothing that you can't do through pi. Okay. So each chakra is a representation of you through your life force. Everything that you do is pi. Okay. Equations of pi, motivations of pi, activities of pi, structures of pi. Okay. Simulations of pi, correlations of pi. Okay. Exactly. It's the area code set location. Now, once you get in that line hand interference, you get position location 3, your line conditions of the levels into flux capacitor. 3 equals flux capacitor. We already know that, right? But you need the 0 ground line setting, 0 gravity location and position locations, because this is your pyramid set locations coming in high setting. Once it comes in position location of its directions, it centers its communication to its pi line center rotations into all levels to your Merkaba set locations in your tesseract communication setting of travel. So once you get into that position line setting, you understand all communications when it comes into the whole system. Let's say you get an X line setting locations of Y, sending communications into flux capacitor communication. So flux capacitor comes into all line set rotations into 3, in position of 6, in position locations of 9, 9 sets line settings, all position locations into 7, 7 line position location of 8, 8 position location of 10, 10 position location of 11, and 11 travels line position location of 12. Okay? So this is this. This is this. So try to understand the correlation, how this works, guys. It's all levels of time sequence, timelines, lock line, center, high line, interference line, position location, and direct line position. It's all calculation. Modify how you set your systems in position, location, directions, right? So it's seconds equal line conditions, right? Seconds equal. Now this is the Merkaba position up, Merkaba position down. Center communication, right? Star lines and set location to a planet setting. Set communications all levels into all levels, calculations to a flux capacitor. Flux capacitor over here in a Fibonacci swirl line setting into 3 weather patterns. In position location 3 weather patterns and bandwidth and communication system. Balance calculations all levels of planet location. So really understand how to use the energy line settings, right? Because you have to really understand position, location, directions. The reason why I've given you guys calculations of pi is because you're opening your 7 operation cycles of your avatar into your body setting. Congratulations on that set locations, because I already know you passed the position on the test line setting, right? So when you come into this, you come into this. That's what you guys are coming into. This is 7. Now, when you get into 7 line setting high interference, 7 is in position, location, directions, right? And then you got 2 panels of communication, high levels of travel. Center communication, center line position locations, higher levels of security line position. So it gets more complicated when you go up to position higher levels of travel. You have to recognize the mass, the volume, the velocity, the acceleration of Mach. Your position location is all levels of space of time through pi. Sets communication line setting, the high line rotation interference, and position location calculations. All levels of division location. So Once you come out of 7 line signals, it positions your direct line setting and how you set the tone. Setting tone sets line position to a zero gravity ground level system. Ground level location comes into 12. Okay, 12 plus channel. Okay, 12 plus channel, because you're already at 24. So you're coming into position of 48 windows set line connections, right? Higher levels of travel communication at 3 line setting. Opens all position locations to its open window and 4 track locations, right? The 48 line setting comes in 48 location of 7. 7 opens all travel in position of higher levels of travel calculation setting. Higher levels of security position, okay? So you have to really recognize these settings, how it sets location to your chakras. The recognition timelines is all levels of its space through time through pi, okay? So I really want you to start recognizing the number sequence locations of your 12s, your 24s, your 48s, your 72s, and your 144 in its representation location, right? So this is position location of 1 line into 2 line in rotation. So this is 1 equal line connections into 24. Okay, 1 equals 24. So you box the 12 line setting, you set it out position location of travel and abundance. Now position at 24 comes in position of cross signal, right, to its own pi calculation setting. Setting communications, all levels of travel. I'll do that again, line center rotation interference. So setting communications, all levels of travel location. It's really powerful when you come into all communication settings, guys, because it opens all line setting rotation, right? Okay, sliding off line setting, rotation interference. All right, so you got 12 line position and line position location line condition of 24, 24 line position location of 48, 48 line center location of 72, 72 position location of 144, set locations. Now, this is where you come into all calculations to its timestamp. Timestamp line position of 2 panels, calculation streamlines. This is a paradox calculation. Paradox equations of pi. Pi equals paradox. Okay, or paradox equals pi. That direct location is its timestamp. Standard line position location, zero gravity line setting. This opens up a new communication line position location to a new flux capacitor location. So you really have to really understand the center operation location to your settings. It opens all communication in your rotation settings and all communication in your pi settings, and inner lines its position location of its interface through triangulation. Okay, so are we having fun? So I'm getting you guys ready into your 7 line signals into construct location of a new design. You have to recognize these things, because when you get alignment of a 7 line signal, it opens all position location of travel. And that's what you're coming into. You're out of the zeros, you're coming into the ones, you're out of the twos, you're into the threes, you're out of the fours, you're coming into the fives, you're out of the 6, you're coming into 7. Okay. So 7 is position of the third eye line setting, which is your theta line set of rotations. So you come into 3, 6, 9 line into position locations and all levels of crisscross locations into timeline sequence, okay, into 2 panels of a paradox equations of pi, setting calculation high center interference and position location of 6, 7, and 8 and 9 line setting and rotation. Setting position location of 12 sets position location at ground setting at 0 gravity line rotations. All right. So recognizing high setting is to understand the position of its program, to understand how to use this in all levels of view. Okay. So we're not in PPF. No, you're just observing it right now, Val. I'm just saying you have a test coming up on Monday. In that position locations, you guys will be in your paradigm, your polarities, your polars, and your calculations to its setting. Okay. 2 parallels of communications of pi through its paradox. Each chakra is a representation to its alignment. You're coming out of the bodies of water of 7, which is extremely powerful. Okay. Through its geometric operation of its own design, which is its own construct of you. Higher levels of communications of you. Okay. Yeah, it's amazing. You're finally coming into the activation line setting. This is great. So in that line rotation, the 7 line position opens all track location is 7, and position location of 8. That's position locations of levels of 9. 9 sets line position location of 10. 10 position location of 11, and 11 position location of 12, and central communication earth line setting and rotation setting. That's it. Okay. Now This is a correlation line position location of pi. This is a correlation line position location of pi. This is a correlation line center locations of pi in center calculations through a whole position line direction in yin and yang. Hoo-ah. So getting in that line signal, okay, gets you into the activation circle. That circle rotates its system to higher levels of travel recognition of space and time through its own calculations of pi. Okay? So already in the exits, and this is why we cannot do anything wrong. We're tapping into our energy, is why we're balancing matters so much. Yeah, and that's what you're coming into. Okay, you're coming massive equation, matters of calculation setting, matters of space and time through pi, paradox, paradigm, polar shift, polarity, center calculations of pole line setting. Okay, it's important you understand these things. Okay, once you understand locations of your chakra settings, then you understand the open sequence location of pi through space and time. Okay, this is going to help you tremendously when you go up to higher levels of alignment setting. Once you're in your 7 locations and you come position locations to 8 line rotations and 9 and position 10 and position 11, once you get into 12 line center line rotations, then we come into line connections 12 equal locations of 5 position locations of different atmosphere line rotation into triangulation setting. So you come into the high center and high interference into 5 atmospheres of space and time through its pi to higher levels. So you're finally out of your body setting, right? So the adaptation circle and the set line rotation interference sets specification of its direct locations. So try to extend the 24,000 line. Remember, always bracket the 3 locations because it's a very good setting. Always have the flux capacitor communication in set locations. Electrical line connections getting ready. Always to its planet location. On a 24 line setting, crisscross line center location of its pi. Center calculation of its paradox of its parallels. Setting communication of pi to higher communication to its moon setting line setting. Opens all communication setting rotation. That's all through a 24,000 line signature location. Now, once you get in that position locations, you come into a 48,000 line window. 48,000 line center, high center interference, 0 gravity looks complicated because the 0 comes into 0, 0 in position of 1, equal line condition of 0, 0, 0 in position location calculations. It gets complicated. So the high line channel opens up line signatures, pattern line rotations. So you come into a 7-2 window in position of higher levels of travel into computer operations to your PCU in set location. Okay. So it's going to get more complicated now because the thing is, you guys are leaving the 24 shift. You're coming into a 48 window line setting. The rotation surface and calculation setting rotation is going to put you into your numbers, factoring over pi. Position line direction locations comes into all calculations to its mainstream. Metric line setting, rotation surface, high triangulation, high rotation position locations of all calculation. The set lines and communication of your PC unit line rotations comes into its box surface and high setting. Okay, really recognize these position locations and direct locations because it's all levels of its own set. And once you understand the levels of what it's doing through its calculation setting, you get a better positions to levels of 7 in rotation center location. Okay, full alignment. And then we come into this position, set locations, right? So we walk the surface in 3 line setting, 8, 9, okay, and 10. 10 is your set locations. Sending communications on my discretion lines is in position of the ethers. Ethers has 4 line signatures. And then you got the Earth. Earth is at the bottom, 4 line signatures up in set locations. You got panels of 1, 2, 3 line settings and graph interference into your own matrix set locations into triangulation set. Setting communication to sun, setting communication to moon, set rotations into flux capacitor communication. Center calculation streamline is sure you understand how to set locations into position. So once you get into that line signal, it opens all levels of travel calculations, okay, into your 12 DNA line setting. Okay, so all right, so it's like, what's going on? Right? Yeah, Merkaba rebirthing, very emotional, very wobbly, rotation, balance, chakras. But see, the thing is, Jill, you get in position line directions, okay? Because you're the foundations of the Merkaba and your inner child development locations. Once you get into your 7 rotation setting, this will put you in a lot more balance of calculation, okay? That's the basic understanding, is the alignment of 7. Anything above that is 5. So you get 7 of pi in your body and position of 5 of pi of your body, okay? 12 line signatures in your DNA line setting, okay? So it's important to understand these things because it works for you in all calculation set locations, right? Once you come into 12 line rotation interference, you come into box line setting. Box line setting comes in position locations at all levels of 3 line position locations in position of higher communication setting. Once it understands communication, it comes into higher levels of travel communication. And then you come into all calculations to all levels, into high line settings, into calculations, into flux capacitor, and center ground and rotations, into all calculations of past, present, and its future calculation into its Orion's belt. Okay? So lots to understand through all calculation setting to all levels of formula, all levels of communication of its equation, all through space, time of pi. All right. Having any expectation in the way how it comes with the creation of illusion, you miss it. Yeah, just a wow, wow, wow. But see how it gets complicated, right? Complication gets you in all ways and forms of position line directions. This centers your set lines and all levels of travel. Okay, get you in a better position location directions, right? So I think we'll stop there. We have a lot to understand through all communications of settings. This is going to position your direction, and this is going to help you in all ways and information locations when you get in position line directions to your 7s of operations. Okay? So, very powerful what we're coming into, right? See you guys on TikTok. Adios.